We are now going to find the equation of a line when you're given a point on it and you're also given the equation of a parallel line. So the setup for these questions is there are two lines involved. There is the known line, the one that you're given, and the unknown line, the one that you're trying to get the equation for. So the setup first of all is known line. And then over across the page we have the unknown line, the one that we're trying to find. So we start by writing down the equation of the known line underneath its title. So we're told in this question that write down the equation of the line which is parallel to this line. So this is the known line, y equals 5x minus 3. And we're told also that the unknown line passes through the point 0, 4. So I'm going to put that point underneath the unknown line. So what we've done is we've taken all the information out of the question and we've put it down on our page. So the known line is y equals 5x minus 3. And the unknown line that we want to get the equation of, we know that it goes through the point 0, 4. Now, in order to get the equation of any line, you need to know its gradient and its y-intercept. Now, straight away, you know what the y-intercept is because you have a point here on the unknown line that has an x-coordinate of 0. If you were to plot this point would be in the y-axis because you go along the x-axis to 0 and then you go up 4. So this point is on the y-axis. So in other words, the line will cut the y-axis at this point. So it cuts the y-axis at 4. So straight away, you have the y-intercept, which we call plus c. So that's good news. We've got the y-intercept already. However, we don't know the gradient. So what we do is we go back to the known line, make sure that the known line is in the form y equals mx plus c. Make sure that y has no visible coefficient and that it's positive, which it is. So read off what the gradient of the known line is. So the gradient of the known line is the coefficient of x. So the gradient of the known line is 5. So that means the gradient of the unknown line is also 5 because the two lines are parallel. So we know that m equals 5 because it's parallel. So now we know the y-intercept for the unknown line. We now know its gradient. So straight away we can write down its equation. So equation start by writing down the general equation, y equals mx plus c. And then all we're doing is we're subbing in the gradient and we're subbing in the y-intercept. So our final answer, we're going to have y equals, gradient is 5, so 5x, and the y-intercept plus c is just 4. So 5x plus 4. And that's the equation for the unknown line in part A. Okay, let's take a look at part B. So part B says write down the equation of the line which is parallel to this line and it also passes through the point 0, minus 6. So we're going to take this information and put it on our page first of all. So there's two lines in the question. The one that we know, in other words we know its equation, and the one that we don't. So we're going to call it the unknown line. Then write down everything you know about the known line and the unknown line. So the known line, its equation is 2y plus x equals 5. And the unknown line, you know that it goes through the point 0, minus 6. Now, you're also told that these two lines are parallel. So, to get the equation of any line, you need to know its y-intercept and you need to know its gradient. The good news is that we know the y-intercept because we're given a point with an x-coordinate of 0. What that means is this point lies in the y-axis. If you were to plot this point, you would move along the x-axis to 0 and then you would move down 6, so you'd be at minus 6. So this point is on the y-axis. In other words, the line cuts the y-axis at this point and it cuts the y-axis at minus 6, the y-coordinate of that point. So that is the y-intercept. So the only thing we need to do now is work out the gradient for the unknown line. Now we get that by going back to the known line. Now there's a problem. The gradient of the known line in this question is not plus 1. I know the coefficient of x is plus 1 and that's the gradient, but it's not plus 1 here, and that's because y is not the subject of this equation. We need to make y the subject first. We need to get y by itself and have no visible coefficient. If you look at part A, you see the way y was the subject of the equation. Y was by itself and had no visible coefficient, and only then can you identify the gradient. So we've got to go to our known line and rearrange it. So check, y term is positive, so we're going to keep it where it is. So we're going to move plus x to the other side. So we're going to get 2y is equal to 5 and then minus x. So we've got that. Now, in order to get y by itself, we're going to have to divide everything, both sides, by the coefficient of y. But before you divide, if you notice any letters which don't have a visible coefficient before them, insert a 1. So see the way this x here is only a sign before it, I'm going to insert a little 1 before it. That's important before we divide. So I'm now going to divide through by 2. So divide every single thing in the equation by 2. Both sides by 2. So we're going to get 2y over 2. That's equal to 5 over 2 minus 1x over 2. Tidy up. So the 2's cancel. We're left with y. That's equal to 5 over 2. And then we're left over here with minus a half x. So what I'm doing is unlining up the numerator and denominator. I'm just putting x immediately after the fraction halfway between top and bottom because I want its coefficient to be clearly visible. So if you take a look now, the known line is now where y is the subject. Y is by itself here and it's positive. It's no visible coefficient. So now we look at the gradient of the known line. The gradient is the coefficient of x, so that is negative a half. And because this line is parallel to the unknown line, that means they have the same gradient. So that means that the gradient m for the unknown line is also minus a half because they are parallel. So we now know the y-intercept for the unknown line and we now know its gradient, so now we can get its equation. So general equation for any straight line is y equals mx plus c. And all we simply do is replace the gradient m and replace the y-intercept plus c with their values. So the gradient is minus a half, so we're going to get y equals minus a half and then we have x, and then we replace plus c, the y-intercept, with -6. And that is our answer for part B.